Welcome to the part 2 of Is Hinduism polytheistic or monotheistic? And let's continue. And now I want to yap a little bit about another side of Hinduism, which has less to do with the gods in a physical form or mythological stories. And this part is more about philosophy and non-dualism. Non-dualism in Hinduism is called as Advaita. Dvaita means two or multiplicity, and in the beginning of it is kind of the negation of whatever comes after. So Advaita literally means non-dualism. In Hinduism we have four major texts and they dates back to BC. In the beginning they were transmitted orally, so you would hear it and you would memorize the whole thing and then you would pass it on and so on and so forth. And at some point somebody decided to write it down, which is good, so we still have it. These four books are Samaveda, Yajurveda, Rigveda and Atharvaveda. I think I messed up the order, but you get the idea. These four books are then subdivided into four things. So each book has four parts basically. The first one is called Samhitas. Samhitas deals with chants and hymns in praise of the gods. So quite a lot of verses in praise of how beautiful they are and how they operate and how the world came into being and etc. etc. And then you have the Brahmanas, which deals more with how to do rituals, when to do rituals, in what way you need to chant the slokas or the verses. And then you have Aranyakas, the third part. Aranyaka literally means the forest. So in the ancient times, a lot of the spiritual studies or philosophical studies were done with your master in the forest while you are just staying in the forest with your teacher and just learning nothing else. The third bit is called Aranyakas because that's what you learn when you are in the forest with your guru. And then the fourth and final part are called Upanishad. And I really love this word Upanishad because it can be split into three. Upanishad. And Upa means near, Ni means down, and Shad means to sit. So Upanishad literally means sit near, down. It also comes from this idea in Hinduism that if you're already full of knowledge, you cannot really take something or understand something that somebody else is saying. So you need to be a bit empty to understand something that somebody else is teaching. And that's why this idea of ni, or sitting a bit lower than the one who is teaching, I guess. Upanishads are also called Vedantas because it comes at the end of Vedas. Anta means the end of something, and Veda ends with Upanishads. In a sense, it's the culmination of all the knowledge that you can see in the whole Vedas. There is a particular Upanishad that I want to quote from, and it's called Ishavasya Upanishad. It's also known as Isha Upanishad. This is the fifth sloka from this particular Upanishad, and it goes something like, "It moves, yet it moves not." And of course the it refers to the supreme oneness that is in all of us. They are using contradiction to describe that. And it goes on to say tad dure tat vadantige, basically meaning it is far yet it is so near. Tad andarasya sarvasya, it is within each one of us. Tad usarvasyasya bahyata, yet it is outside everything. So it is inside of us, inside each of us, and it is outside in everything as well. And of course, don't depend on my Sanskrit pronunciation. The memory I have is from 5th and 6th grade, where I took some lessons in my classes, and it's not good. I will try to put a link to a really good pronunciation of this particular chant, so you can refer to that. I will also be putting the reference books that I used for each of these texts that I'm referring to, so you can also check that on the description. Here the Upanishad is basically throwing all the mythologies, the stories, the gods, the worshipper, the worshipped, everything into one big trash can and saying this is all the same, everything is the same, what you see outside and inside are the same. You are worshipping Shiva, you are worshipping Krishna, all of these forms that are outside of you, they sit in temples without moving, And then there is you who is moving around and going to this temple or that church and worshipping them. And the Upanishad is basically saying that what powers you and that which does not move in the temple also, because it's an object, it's not moving anywhere, is the same thing. So what powers you and the gods that you worship are the same. That it is so far away from you in Mecca, in Jerusalem, in Kailas, in Badrinath or wherever, but yet it is the closest thing to you as well at the same time. It is within everything. For me, this is monotheism, the belief in one all-powerful God. Now verse 6 from the same text. He who sees all beings in his own self and his own self in all beings does not feel any revulsions whatsoever. Basically, it's the idea of the universe that you see in front of you is inside you, and also vice versa, the universe that you see outside is you yourself, meaning everything is one. Again, the idea that everything is one and one whole thing. Of course, when you are only seeing yourself in others and others in yourself, how can you be angry, disgusted or annoyed at anybody else? Because it's just you, it's just your own reflection in everything else, and so you cannot be angry, annoyed or disgusted at anything. The last one that I'm gonna chant is one of my personal favorites, and it goes something like this. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. And it literally means Purnamata, that is complete, Purnam Idam, this is complete. Purna means complete. Purnat Purnamudachyate, from completeness arises completeness. Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. If you take completeness out of completeness, what remains is also complete. So again, this is the idea that everything is one. It is actually similar to the idea of the numeric value of 0. From these verses, it's really obvious what they are saying is that all these 33 million gods are actually your own self, or your own self is the 33 million gods out there that you worship to. Interestingly, it's also similar to the idea of Yehovah, which basically comes from the word I am in Hebrew, or to be, the verb to be. So again, is Hinduism a monotheistic religion or a polytheistic religion? I don't know. What do you think? You can comment down. I personally like to see it as a journey from multiplicity to singularity, or from everything to not a thing. For me personally, the question of why does these two aspects of Hinduism exist hand in hand is more interesting and relevant than the question of is Hinduism monotheistic or polytheistic. And I think the answer lies not so much in the mythology or philosophy of Hinduism, but more in the socio-political side, or maybe a combination of both. As you know, India is a third world country, and this basically means that people who are working 12 to 14 hours of shifts in really harsh conditions for really low pay. And if you go to somebody who just finished his 14-hour shift in really harsh conditions and tell him that oh, by the way, what you seek is inside you and everything is one, what you seek is inside you, and that thing is the same as the top 10 richest men in the world, he's gonna beat you up, and you probably deserve to be beaten up for your lack of empathy and situational awareness. Understand that this also has a lot to do with intellectual education. And of course, I'm stressing on the word intellectual and not experiential. When you're in real physical or mental suffering, you're gonna pray to Jesus or Shiva or Krishna or Allah, or whoever you are more used to from your own childhood. Not to your own self that is in everything. Definitely not to that which moves yet it moves not. No, of course not. You're gonna be, oh God, help me please. That's what you're gonna do. So let's definitely not get ahead of ourselves. A lot of people in this world do not have the luxury of philosophizing and intellectualizing life and spirituality. They have more urgent matters to attend to. They have bills to pay, they have kids to feed, they have shelter to put over their head, and it can be really, really overwhelming and stressful. Genuinely, it can make you feel like you are powerless in this world. And in such conditions, it's much more easier to believe in an all-powerful God who is gonna grant you wealth or remove obstacles for you, or even an institution that kind of acts as a medium between you and the all-powerful gods. We call it a church, temple, or whatever. This gives people the faith to go on living the life. It gives you the hope of illumination, the absence of sadness, a kingdom of God where you will not suffer anymore. Above all, it makes you feel like you are not all alone in this world of suffering, and you can keep going. I have met so many people who are so devotional to a physical form of a god. They would be performing rituals and chantings and so on. They might have started going to temple or church because they wanted something in return or whatever. Not all, but definitely many of them keeps going because they find a certain love or devotion for this god that they are worshipping in a physical form. And I'm sure if you meet them outside of the temple or church, yeah, they can be a bit bitter for sure. But come on, like, have you paid rent and the bills? I am bitter on the day I'm gonna pay rent, so life is what it is. Anyways, I personally think that if you cultivate a particular emotion or skill in one relationship or in one situation, it's really easy to take it and apply it in another situation or a relationship. So once you learn to love a god with a physical form, we can eventually extend it and start loving the people around you. You can start loving your dog or a cat or whatever, anything that is around you. And more importantly, you can also extend it and start loving yourself. And now we circle back again to the verse that we talked about earlier, and we try to replace the completeness with the word love. This is love, that is love. If you take love out of love, what remains is love, and out of love comes love. And that is really beautiful. Maybe I'm just a hopeless romantic, I don't know. There is a reason why in the beginning I said that I see it as a journey from multiplicity to singularity, and not vice versa. And it is because of this common pitfall that I have seen people fall into. And it happens when people go straight and jump into non-dualism and all of these intellectualizing and philosophizing of spirituality, is that they read all of these and say like, oh, if everything is one, all is one, there is no difference. And then they would also go directly to somebody who is starving and in really bad situation and tell them that there is no difference between happiness and suffering because all is one, everything is one, there is no difference. There it lacks empathy, it lacks love, it lacks human decency and situational awareness, and it is simply soulless and cruel from my point of view. And maybe that's why Jesus went and fed 5,000 people with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. So that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. You can hit the subscribe button and see you in the next one. Bye.